In our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver.
As you all know, that's income from selling stocks and other assets for taxpayers that make more than $1 million per year in income.
Starting today, if you're fully vaccinated and you're outdoors, you need, and not in a big crowd, you no longer need to wear a mask. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again. We also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and in turn America.
Are these your verdicts, so say you one, so say you all?
Yes.
Nothing is going to make it all better, but at least God, now there's some justice.
Right.
And you know, I think a John is coming. My dad is going to change the world. He's going to start to change it now.
That's right.
Yes. Hopefully this is the momentum for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act to get passed to have you sign.
Got it, pal. That and a lot more.
This verdict brings us a step closer, and the fact is, we still have work to do.
George Floyd was murdered almost a year ago. There's meaningful police reform legislation in his name. You just heard the Vice President speak of it. She helped write it. Legislation to tackle systemic misconduct in police departments, to restore trust between law enforcement and the people they're entrusted to serve and protect. But it shouldn't take a whole year to get this done. When tomorrow's vaccine and vaccination numbers come out, we will show that today we did it. Today we hit 200 million shots and the 92nd day in office. No working American should lose a single dollar from their paycheck because they chose to fulfill their patriotic duty of getting vaccinated. The United States sets out on the road to cut greenhouse gases in half by the end of this decade. That's where we're headed as a nation. And that's what we can do if we take action to build an economy that's not only more prosperous, but healthier, fairer, and cleaner for the entire planet. The signs are unmistakable. The science is undeniable. But the cost of inaction keeps mounting.
Of what this inhumane crime had intended to be. Not a massacre, not a mass killing, but a genocide.
He was defined by his dignity, his decency, his loyalty, and his courage. And Mom, that's because of you and his dad. That's how it happened, not by accident. Your son, your husband, your brother, your dad was a hero. And he's part of you. It's in your blood. My prayer for you is that moment of the smile comes before the tear, quicker than longer.
What does a pause mean? It really allows both the FDA and the CDC to further investigate these cases to try and understand some of the mechanisms of what it is, some more details about the history of the individuals who were involved that might shed some light on, looking forward, what will happen. So you're talking about tens and tens and tens of millions of people who've received vaccine with no adverse effect. This is a really rare event. If you look at what we know so far, there have been 6 out of the 6.85 million doses, which is less than 1 in a million.
We went to Afghanistan because of a horrific attack that happened 20 years ago. That cannot explain why we should remain there in 2021. I'm now the 4th United States president to preside over American troop presence in Afghanistan. 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I will not pass this responsibility on to a 5th. After consulting closely with our allies and partners, with our military leaders and intelligence personnel, with our diplomats and our development experts, with the Congress and the Vice President, as well as with Mr. Ghani and many others around the world, I've concluded that it's time to end America's longest war. It's time for American troops to come home. When I came to office, I inherited a diplomatic agreement duly negotiated between the government of the United States and the Taliban that all U.S. forces would be out of Afghanistan by May 1, 2021. So in keeping with that agreement and with our national interest, the United States will begin our final withdrawal, begin it on May 1 of this year.
our objective here is not to escalate. Our objective here is to impose costs for what we feel are unacceptable actions by the Russian government. We can't predict what the impact will be, but we still believe that when there's unacceptable behavior, we should put consequences in place.
Yet again, we have families in our country that are grieving the loss of their family members because of gun violence. There is no question that this violence must end, and we are thinking of the families that lost their loved ones.
We share the sentiments of Pope Francis, who has said that getting vaccinated is a moral obligation, one that can save your life and the lives of others. Man, you got biceps as big as my thighs, man. You're a big man. You probably came and wanted a shot, and Biden's holding you up here. Yesterday, we crossed 150 million shots in 75 days, the first 75 days of my administration, on our way to hitting our goal of 200 million shots by the 100th day in office. We aren't at the finish line. We still have a lot of work to do. We're still in a life and death race against this virus. It's the single largest investment in American jobs since World War II. And it's a plan that puts millions of Americans to work to fix what's broken in our country. Tens of thousands of miles of roads and highways, thousands of bridges in desperate need of repair. I'm not trying to punish anybody, but damn it, maybe it's because I come from a middle-class neighborhood. I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced. Whether Congress acts or not, I'm going to use all the resources at my disposal as president to keep the American people safe from gun violence. Enough prayers. Time for some action. Our work is far from over.
And I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom.
The war against COVID-19 is far from won. This is deadly serious.
We have so much to look forward to, so much promise and potential of where we are, and so much reason for hope. But right now, I'm scared.
I'm reiterating my call for every governor, mayor, and local leader to maintain and reinstate the mask mandate. I'm directing my COVID team to ensure there is a vaccine site within 5 miles of 90% of all Americans by April the 19th, 3 weeks from today. I'm sending out millions of dollars through the Department of Health and Human Services to provide assistance, including transportation, so more vulnerable seniors and people with disabilities can get their shots.
The moratorium was scheduled to expire on March 31st and is now extended through June 30th. Today, the White House convened leaders from across the administration is taking coordinated steps to announce a set of bold actions that will catalyze offshore wind energy and create good-paying union jobs. It will also generate enough power to meet the demand of more than 10 million American homes and avoid 78 million metric tons of carbon emissions.
Nearly 90,000 businesses are still in line, and there's money left. Without somebody signing this bill today, there are hundreds of thousands of people who could lose their jobs, and small and family businesses that might close forever.
Includes 4 nominees who have served as public defenders, 4 who are members of the AAPI community, a nominee who, if confirmed, would be the first Muslim American federal judge in history. 9 of the 11 nominees are women. And overall, this group represents a paradigm shift in the type of people who can see themselves on the federal bench.
not a plan that tinkers around the edges. What I'm proposing is a one-time capital investment of roughly $2 trillion in America's future, spread largely over 8 years. It puts people to work to repair and upgrade that we badly need. It makes it easier and more efficient to move goods, to get to work, and to make us more competitive around the world. We have to move now, because I'm convinced that if we act now, in 50 years, people are going to look back and say, this was the moment that America won the future. This is the first in American history that cabinet looks like America. That's what we promised we were going to do, and we've done it.
To everyone here, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for your work, for your time, for your leadership, for what you are doing to boost the confidence of the people who need to know again that they're not alone.
And while we believe that fully vaccinated people can travel at low risk to themselves, CDC is not recommending travel at this time due to the rising number of cases. Our guidance reiterates that all travelers, regardless of vaccination status, should continue to wear masks on planes, buses, trains, and other forms of public transportation.
May God bless you all and those families who are mourning today because of gun violence in Colorado and Georgia, all across the country. We have to act so there's not more of you, there's fewer of you as time goes on. I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future and to urge my colleagues in the House and Senate to act. We can ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country once again. This new surge we're dealing with now started with the last administration, but it's our responsibility to deal with it humanely and to stop what's happening.
got back last night from a reporting trip to the border where I met 9-year-old Josel, who walked here from Honduras by himself, along with another little boy.
What a desperate act to have to take. The circumstances must be horrible, so we can do something about that. That's right, 200 million shots in 100 days. What I'm worried about is how un-American this whole initiative is. It's sick. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do. This year, like last, we're still planning virtual celebrations, blessing the matzah and wine over the screen rather than side by side. And you know, there are still some grandparents who haven't been able to embrace their grandchildren since the last Passover. And there are far, far too many empty chairs at our Seder, a solemn reminder of all that we've lost. And hope is here in real and tangible ways. We're just days away from 100 million shots and millions in the arms of millions of Americans. Child poverty will be cut in half as a consequence of what's in this Recovery Act. By the time all the money is distributed, 85% of American households will have gotten a $1,400 rescue checks. It extends unemployment insurance for the 11 million Americans unemployed and any who will be unemployed in the near term. We have to prove to the American people that their government can deliver for them and do it without waste or fraud.
What's next on your legislative agenda?
If you notice the criticism of the COVID relief package from my Republican friends is they say it spends too much money and it gives too many tax breaks. All these tax breaks go to the bottom 60% of the population. And guess what? They need it. The $1,400 check, child care tax credit. They don't like it because, in fact, their idea of a tax cut is to give the Trump tax cut where 83% went to the top 1% of the people in America.
Aren't you going to have to choose between preserving the filibuster and advancing your agenda?
Yes. But here's the choice. I don't think you have to eliminate the filibuster. You have to do it what it used to be when I first got to the Senate, and that is that a filibuster, you had to stand up and command the floor. Once you stopped talking, you lost that, and someone could move in and say, I moved the question of. So you got to work for the filibuster.
So you're for that reform. You're for bringing back the talking filibuster.
I am. Very concerned because, as you know, I've been speaking about the brutality against Asian Americans for the last couple months, and I think it is very, very troublesome. And but I'm making no connection at this moment to the motivation of the killer. I'm waiting for an answer from, as the investigation proceeds, from the FBI and from the Justice Department.
again.
This moment is profound when we consider the fact that a former Secretary of the Interior once proclaimed his goal to, quote, civilize or exterminate us. I'm a living testament to the failure of that horrific ideology. I also stand on the shoulders of my ancestors and all the people who have sacrificed so that I can be here.
And I'm proud to announce that tomorrow, 58 days into our administration, we will have met my goal of administering 100 million shots to our fellow Americans. That's weeks ahead of schedule.
Our first priority remains vaccinating the U.S. population. The pandemic knows no borders, and ensuring our neighbors can contain the virus is a mission-critical mission-critical to ending the pandemic.
Science is back. But I came here to say thank you, because you're not only you're changing the psyche of the country, you're saving lives. Hate and violence often hide in plain sight. It's often met with silence. That's been true throughout our history. But that has to change, because our silence is complicity. We cannot be complicit. I'm signing an executive order to make it easier for eligible voters to register to vote and improve access to voting. Every eligible voter should be able to vote and have that vote counted.
We know that the full participation of all people, including women and girls, across all aspects of our society is essential to the economic well-being, health, and security of our nation and of the world.
The Title IX EO directs the Department of Education to review all of its existing regulations, orders, guidance, and policies to ensure consistency with the Biden-Harris administration's policy that all students be guaranteed education free from sexual violence.
CDC recommends that fully vaccinated people can visit with other fully vaccinated people in small gatherings indoors without wearing masks or physical distancing. Fully vaccinated people can visit with unvaccinated people from one other household indoors without wearing masks or physical distancing, as long as the unvaccinated people and any unvaccinated members of their household are not at high risk for severe COVID-19 disease.
We will help people believe once again that their government cares about them, no matter who they are.
Our priorities for the environment are clear. We will restore the role of science and transparency at EPA. We will support the dedicated and talented career officials. We will move with a sense of urgency on climate change, and we will stand up for environmental justice and equity.
It is difficult at times to convey both hope in the future and the danger that is now. And that is what we're trying to do. And I will certainly agree that we are trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. We are trying to convey to everybody in the region that we will have legal processes for people in the future, and we're standing those up as soon as we can. But at the same time, you cannot come through irregular means. It's dangerous, and the majority of people will be sent out of the United States.
I'm directing Jeff and my HHS team to produce another 100 million doses and purchase another 100 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I believe this is, and most people I think do as well, this historic legislation is about rebuilding the backbone of this country and giving people in this nation, working people, middle-class folks, people who built the country, a fighting chance. Tonight, I'm announcing that I will direct all states, tribes, and territories to make all adults, people 18 and over, eligible to be vaccinated no later than May 1. With their vote, we're one step closer to vaccinating the nation. We're one step closer to putting $1,400 in the pockets of Americans. We're one step closer to extending unemployment benefits for millions of Americans who are shortly going to lose them. Now the bill moves to the United States Senate, where I hope it will receive quick action. We have no time to waste. Today and over the next few days and weeks, workers in Alabama and all across America are voting on whether to organize a union in their workplace. Every worker should have a free and fair choice to join a union. The law guarantees that choice. And it's your right, not that of an employer. It's your right. No employer can take that right away. So make your voice heard. There's a long and complicated history between our nations that haven't always been perfect neighbors with one another, but we have seen over and over again the power and the purpose when we cooperate, and we're safer when we work together.
We are dedicated to achieving, and quite frankly are working around the clock, to replace the cruelty of the past administration with an orderly, humane, and safe immigration process.
Two of the largest healthcare and pharmaceutical companies in the world that are usually competitors are working together on the vaccine. Johnson & Johnson and Merck will work together to expand the production of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. About 3 weeks ago, we were able to say that we'll have enough vaccine supply for adults by the end of July. And I'm pleased to announce today, as a consequence of the stepped-up process that I've ordered and just outlined, this country will have enough vaccine supply, I'll say it again, for every adult in America by the end of May. My challenge to all states, territories, and the District of Columbia is this. We want every educator, school staff member, child care worker to receive at least one shot by the end of the month of March.
Congratulations, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
The students of this school have been in school since, I think it was like August 26th when the school system opened. Every day, all day. And it was done in a manner that protected the students and the staff and their families. That deserves a round of applause.
And I think that once we get the teachers vaccinated and we get the American Rescue Plan passed so that schools like this can have the money to be back safely.
When the Families First Act runs out at the end of March, I am no longer covered to pay that staff. So having that extended beyond March is really crucial. We need to be able to pay. Yeah, we need to be able to pay them.
I know that this week you're working on the Protect Our Democracy reforms, as well as the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, both of which I strongly support.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
Texas and Mississippi. Texas, I
think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference.
Now is not the time to release all restrictions. I do think that, as I said in my remarks, the next month or two is really pivotal in terms of how this pandemic goes. As we scale up vaccination, we really do need to decrease the amount of virus that is circulating as we're trying to vaccinate all of the public.
And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine, take off your mask.
I object.
The objection is heard. The clerk will continue the reading.
As the American Rescue Act of 2021, Section 2, Table of Contents. The table of contents for this act is as follows. Section 1, short title. Section 2, Table of Contents. Title 1.
Today's jobs report shows that the American Rescue Plan is urgently needed in our view. Our economy still has 9.5 million fewer jobs than it had this time last year.
it's just a hard time financially, mentally, emotionally, like across the board for children, adults, you know. And it's just, I thank you for the plan. I think it'll help a wide range of people.
I believe that if you look back historically, we've done worse than most any other country. It's so tough to just go back and try and, do a metaphorical autopsy on how things went. It was just bad. It is bad now.
As a nation, we can't accept such a cruel fate. While we've been fighting this pandemic for so long, we have to resist becoming numb to the sorrow. We have to resist viewing each life as a statistic or a blur or on the news. This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again. And as we do, we'll remember each person we've lost, the lives they lived, the loved ones they left behind.
We have a number of unaccompanied minors, children who are coming into the country without their families. What we are not doing, what the last administration did, was separate those kids, rip them from the arms of their parents at the border. We are not doing that. That is immoral, and that is not the approach of this administration. These kids, we have a couple of options. We can send them back home and do a dangerous journey back. We are not doing that either. That is also putting them at risk. We can quickly transfer them from CBP to these HHS-run facilities. That's one option. Or we can put them with families and sponsors without any vetting. There were some problems that process ran into as well. We've chosen the middle option. And these HHS facilities, this is one of them you're referring to, we had to expand and open additional facilities because there was not enough space in the existing facilities and if we were to abide by COVID protocols. That's the process and the step. This facility in Texas, which has been reopened, has been revamped, there are teachers, there is medical facilities, and our objective is to move these kids quickly from there to vetted, sponsored families, and to places where they can safely be. This is a difficult situation. It's a difficult choice. That's the choice we've made.
Today, I'm announcing additional changes to the PPP program that will make sure we look out for the mom and pop business even more than we already have. The next 2 weeks, the only folks who can apply for that PPP money are businesses with fewer than 20 employees.
For her nomination, and she and our team remain in close contact and close touch with senators and key constituency groups. She's very engaged in doing outreach to senators, to members on the Hill, answering any questions they have and offering to do that, and we're doing the same.
While things are improving, and we're going from a mess we inherited to moving in the right direction at a significant speed, this is not a victory lap. Everything is not fixed. We have a long way to go.
My commitment to clean energy was forged in the fire.
confident in the target that we went after. We know what we hit, and we're confident that that target was being used by the same Shia militia that conducted the strikes.
Everything was normal, and now when things change, people get really worried and scared. But don't be scared, honey. Don't be scared. You're going to be fine, and we're going to make sure Mommy's fine too. The middle class built this country, and labor built the middle class.
It has created a perfect storm for women. And the longer we wait to act, the harder it will be to bring these millions of women back into the workforce.
I want you to know the United States we'll do our part. We'll stand with you. We'll fight for our shared values. We'll meet the challenges of this new moment in history. America's back. So let's get together and demonstrate to our great-great-grandchildren when they read about us that democracy functions and works together. I came here because I want the American people to understand the extraordinary work that's being done to undertake the most difficult operational challenges this nation has ever faced. And let me say parenthetically that it's not enough that we find cures for Americans. There needs to be a cure that the world is able to take part in, because you can't build a wall or a fence high enough to keep a pandemic out. We've now purchased enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all Americans. And as we thank you and all of our essential workers, let's remember we all can do our part to save lives. were short on vaccines and short on organization, and when we got sworn in, and we committed to do 100 million vaccinations in the first 100 days, and we're exceeding that. There's a whole range of issues, but I think they're all soluble. Infrastructure wasn't a Democrat or Republican issue. There are not many Republican or Democratic roads and bridges. When I took office just 3 weeks ago, this country did not have a plan. We've now purchased enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all Americans. Racism, harassment, hate crimes against Asian American Pacific Islanders. It's simply wrong. It's a stain on our national character.
With the pandemic, everybody's feeling a little down, so it's just a little joy, a little hope, that's all.
We have just had a very productive, cordial 2-hour meeting with the president and the vice president, and it was a very good exchange of views.
Throughout those conversations, we've underscored the economic and health challenges that our country faces. A new report by the Brookings Institution estimates that with the American Rescue Plan, we could boost GDP by 4% and return our economy to pre-COVID levels by the end of 2021. A separate analysis by Moody's Analytics found that the president's plan would create 7.5 million jobs this year and double our economic growth and return our economy back to full employment 1 year faster.
After a review of all the facts, we have assessed that the Burmese military's actions on February 1st, having deposed the duly elected head of government, constituted a military coup d'etat. The United States will continue to work closely with our partners throughout the region and the world to support respect for democracy and the rule of law in Burma, as well as to promote accountability for those responsible for overturning Burma's democratic transition.
With the first action today, we're going to work to undo the moral and national shame of the previous administration that literally, not figuratively, ripped children from the arms of their families, their mothers and fathers at the border, and with no plan, none whatsoever, to reunify the children who are still in custody and their parents. Second order I'm signing is creating a comprehensive regional framework to address the causes of migration and to manage migration throughout the North and Central America, and to provide a safe and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the United States border. The third order I'm going to be signing orders a full review of the previous administration's harmful and counterproductive immigration policies, basically across the board.
The principles of homeland and security have been tremendously important in shaping my life. My father and mother brought me to this country to escape communism and to provide me with the security, opportunity, and pride that American citizenship brings to each of us.
I will work every day to make sure the department meets its mission of ensuring safety. Safety for both travelers and for workers, and I look forward to working closely with Congress to do so. Safety is the foundation of the department's mission, and that takes on new meaning amid this pandemic. We have to ensure that all of our transportation systems, our aviation and public transit, our railways, roads, ports, our waterways and pipelines, all of it is managed safely in this critical period as we work to defeat the virus for good.
Starting on February 11th, the federal government will deliver vaccines directly to select pharmacies across the country. This will provide more sites for people to get vaccinated in their communities, and it's an important component to delivering vaccines equitably.
Today, I'm announcing additional steps to course correct our foreign policy and better unite our democratic values with our diplomatic leadership. We'll be stopping any planned troop withdrawals from Germany. We're also stepping up our diplomacy to end the war in Yemen, a war which has created a humanitarian and strategic catastrophe. I've asked my Middle East team to ensure our support for the United Nations-led initiative to impose a ceasefire, open humanitarian challenge, and restore long-dormant peace talks. This war has to end. And to underscore our commitment, we are ending all American support for offensive operations in the war in Yemen, including relevant arms sales. We also face a crisis of more than 80 million displaced people suffering all around the world. So today, I'm approving an executive order to begin the hard work of restoring our refugee admissions program to help meet the unprecedented global need. Job number one of the American Rescue Plan is vaccines. Vaccines. The second, the American Rescue Plan is going to keep the commitment of $2,000. $600 has already gone out. $1,400 checks to people who need it. This is money directly in people's pockets. They need it. I'm not cutting the size of the checks. They're going to be $1,400, period. It's better economics. It not only addresses the immediate crisis we're in, it's better for the long-term economic health of our nation and our competitiveness. My plan creates more jobs, creates more economic growth, and does more to make us competitive with the rest of the world than any other plan.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And I'm going to start today. Some of the executive actions I'm going to sign today are going to help change the course of the COVID crisis, and we're going to combat climate change in a way that we haven't done so far. I think some of the things we're going to be doing are going to be bold and vital, and there's no time to start like today. Nation waiting for action, let me be the clearest on this point. Help is on the way. Our national strategy is comprehensive. It's based on science, not politics. It's based on truth, not denial, and it's detailed. We remain in a once-in-a-century public health crisis that's led to the most unequal job and economic crisis in modern history. This is an economic imperative, a growing economic consensus that we must act decisively and boldly to grow the economy for all Americans, not just for tomorrow, but in the future. We need to act. No matter how you look at it, we need to act. We're in a national emergency. We need to act like we're in a national emergency. What I'm doing is enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. Today, I'm taking the first steps in my larger Build Back Better recovery plan that invests in American workers, unions, and businesses up and down the supply chain. It's based on a simple premise that will reward work, not wealth in this country. And the key plank of ensuring the future will be made in America. It's time to act because that's what the faith and morality call us to do. Every White House component and every agency will be involved in this work because advancing equity has to be everyone's job. I'm not promising we can end it tomorrow, but I promise you we're going to continue to make progress to eliminate systemic racism, and every branch of the White House and the federal government is going to be part of that effort. In my view, we've already waited too long to deal with this climate crisis. We can't wait any longer. It's not time for small measures. We need to be bold. It's a whole-of-government approach. Put climate change at the center of our domestic, national security, and foreign policy. It's advancing conservation, revitalizing communities in cities and on the farmlands, and securing environmental justice. Basically, the best way to describe them, to undo the damage Trump has done. Nothing new that we're doing here other than restoring the Affordable Care Act and restoring the Medicaid to the way it was before Trump became president.